All right. So now that we talked about the hardware for STGs, let's talk about. I picked out 10 games. Wait. Yes, 10 games. And I'm not going to present these in any kind of order, but I'm just going to throw them out there and say what I think about them and why I would recommend or not recommend them. But before we do that, I just want to go over a few pieces of like jargon or terminology or whatever associated with these kind of games. So STGs are. Oh, by the way, I had to go change my shirt. I had to represent the STG with the Type A ship from Dodonpachi Diode Joe. Anyway, so in all STGs, it's they're majority. You can play 2-player and have 2 ships on the screen, but the real fun, I guess you could say, is the competitive part. And when you first start playing an STG, it's you versus the developer. But once you have beat the game, which is called a 1cc or 1 credit clear, then it's you versus anyone who has or ever will play that game. So, okay, 1cc. 1cc is a 1 credit clear, and that means you don't die out and press start to use a continue and keep on going, because that resets your score, and it's all about the high score. So you beat the game basically, stage 1 to stage 5 or 7 or however many. They're not really long games. They're not known for being super long games. You go from beginning to the end, kill the end boss, or TLB, which is true last boss, on whatever you start with. And some games will have like hidden extra lives or extends somewhere in the playthrough, or you can get extra extends from hitting certain score values through your playthrough. But it's basically what you start with, no continue, all the way to the end. That's a 1cc. But they're known for being difficult games, and they take a lot of memorization and really good reaction time to execute what you've memorized. So I guess that's about all I can think of, really. Let's just go into the games. All right, so first one, this is Ketsui. And if you have a Japanese 360, you can play this on a Japanese 360, the 360 version. But I have the PS3 version because PS3 is not region locked, so there you go. And this is a pretty cool game. It's about $100 when I picked it up, brand new. I'm sure it probably has gone up a little bit since then, but it's a really good game. The PS3 version comes with a Super Play DVD, and that is, a Super Play is someone beat it. It's not a robot, it's an actual person, Japanese guy, of course. He 1cc'd it, and no miss, no bombed, pretty much all the way to the end. And no miss means you don't die in a stage. So he no missed all the stages, and he didn't use any bombs, all the stages, all the way to the very end. So if you want to be extremely impressed, this is awesome to watch. And then of course the game. And oh, one more thing, loops. Some games, being that they are short games, they have loops. So what it is you go all the way to the end, and then the game starts over, and there's more bullets, more enemies, they're more aggressive. It's just playing harder, and then you beat the second loop to get to the TLB, which is true last boss. But anyway, so Ketsui has 2 loops, and it actually has 2 different loops depending on how good you do in the first loop. Anyway, so this is a great game, but it is very hard. This is a very hard game. I've been playing this one on and off for a year and a half, and I have yet to 1cc this game. It's very difficult, but the music is really good. It's like a drum and bass music soundtrack. It's done by Manabu Namiki, which is, he's known for doing a lot of cave OSTs. But very hard and challenging game, but it's not something that I personally have played and I just get mad and don't want to ever come back to it. It's hard, but you know where you messed up and you want to keep going. So Ketsui, very good game. I'd say let's put a number scale on this game too. Let's do that. I'd say this one is probably an 8 or a 9. It's pretty good. So what do we got next? For the 360, we have Dodonpachi Resurrection, which is also known as Dodonpachi Daifukatsu. This game is pretty cheap. I think I got mine brand new for $17 on Amazon. Again, price has probably gone up since then, but the awesome thing about this game is that this is the 4th game in the Dodonpachi series. There's 5 games. But what's awesome about this is, like, even if you paid $100 for this, you get arcade mode, arcade 1.51, I think, a range A, a range B, black label. There's just a tons of variations of the same game. And I know you might be wondering, well, like, how much could you do with something that's only 5 stages long and you're just, you know, flying a little ship and killing stuff? They changed the mechanics in every one of those modes, and it almost seems like a new game. The music, again, pretty awesome. This is an excellent game. If you have a 360 and you play STGs, like, you should definitely have this one. So I'll put this one up there at 8 or 9 too. All right, this one might not be for most guys. For chicks, this is an awesome STG. For any chick trying to get an STGs, this is what I would recommend. This is kind of what you would call a cute 'em up. So instead of a shoot 'em up or a shmup, this is a cute 'em up, meaning that everything, as you can probably just tell just from looking at the game case, everything is pink or pastel color. It's very cutesy, but don't be mistaken, this is still a brutally hard game. Pink Sweets is probably one of Cave's hardest games to 1cc. And this CD, this release actually is 2 games on one. This is about $100, I think, to pick up. But it comes with Mushi Mushi Pork, funny name, I know, and Pink Sweets. So it's 2 games on one disc, 2 totally different games, not arrangements. These are 2 totally different games on one CD. And both games are great. And each one also has their own arranged mode and all kinds of stuff like that. But this is fantastic game right here, and definitely what I would recommend to a chick. Even though it's really hard, it's just, I don't know, I find it enjoyable anyway. I'll put this one about at 7. Okay, let's see. My girlfriend got me this for my last birthday, and this is called Raiden Fighters Aces, or Jet. Aces. Right, it actually has 3 games, and one of them is Raiden Fighters Jet, that's why I said that. But it comes with Raiden Fighters 2, and Raiden Fighters Jet. So it has 3 separate games. These games are, they're not quite like the Cave games that I just showed you. The hitbox, which is what area of your ship can actually be touched to get destroyed, is bigger. So on Ketsui and Dodonpachi, you can squeeze through some really crazy looking patterns that you wouldn't think you'd be able to make it through, but you can because the hitbox is just a little cluster of pixels. On this, your hitbox is a lot larger, so it's easier to get hit, but the patterns aren't like Cave patterns either, so they're more negotiable with a larger hitbox. This is just a different kind of STG, to be honest. But where this one shines is, like I said, 3 different games. First off, there are no range modes or anything like that. I think there's a boss rush mode, but there's no arrangements. But each one of these 3 games has like 20 different fighters to pick from. So there's a lot of variety on what you take into the game. So this one I definitely put up there. I think I've only 1cc'd the first Raiden Fighters. I'm gonna revisit this sometime and go back to Raiden Fighters Jet, I think. But this one I would put up there probably about a 7 or 8, just because of the stuff you get on it. There's a lot of stuff you get on it and a lot of replay value because the number of jets you can use. So, okay, I actually do not own a physical copy of this next game. It is on my PS2 hard drive, but this is a model kit for the game I want to talk about. It's Dodonpachi Diode Joe, which is the 3rd Dodonpachi game in the 5-part series. This one is for PS2, and this one is actually an extremely hard game too. It has a really strict chaining mechanic for the scoring, meaning you can't go longer than like half a second without destroying something, or you lose your little chain, your combo meter in the top. But you can combo the whole stage if you plan your route perfectly. So it's a really, really hard game, but if you get the hang of it and you start figuring out a route and you look like you know what you're doing, the game looks amazing to watch. For just watching someone else to play, or when you're doing awesome, like it's really gratifying. I'll say that. But it's a very, very hard game. So I'm going to put it about a 7 or 8 too. I guess probably all of these are going to be like 7 or 8. So I don't even know I'm rating them anymore. Okay, so I guess since we're doing games that I don't own a physical copy of, I might as well get this one out of the way too. This is also another PS2 game that I don't own a physical copy. Physical copies are for import PS2s only, and this game runs easy $150. But this is Ibarra, which is the prequel to Pink Sweets and the sequel to another game I'll get to in a minute. But Ibarra, Lord, that's a hard game. The PS2 version has an excellent arrange mode. I think the arrange mode is pretty awesome. It's a 6-stage STG, and it is just very, very hard. It's programmed by this guy named Yagawa, and he's known for putting rank systems in his game. And that means for every bullet you shoot, for every enemy you kill, for every power-up you pick up, for every bomb you use, there is a hidden counter that you can't see that is going up, and that's your difficulty. So as you play the game, the better you do, the harder it gets. So it makes it a really dynamic game. I would put that one up there like 8 or 9 for sure, definitely. Okay, since we just talked about that, this is the one that started it all. This is for Sega Saturn. This is Barriga. I recommend any shooting fan to play this game. The bullets are not as colorful. It's all pixel art. It's all 2D pixel art, but it's done really well. There's tiny fragments that blow off of things. It's just really, it's a very, very detailed game for a 1996 port of arcade game. This is the one that started it all. Then came Ibarra. Then came Pink Sweets. It's a trilogy, I guess you could say. But this is where that rank system started, and it's really, it takes a lot of practice, but once you get down, this game is a ton of fun. The downside is that the Sega Saturn port of the game is quite pricey. You're looking at like $250 for it. So make friends on the Shmups forum and see if someone will let it go for significantly cheaper like I did. Because I was not about, as much as I like this game, I was not about to pay no $250 for it. But another option would be, if you don't want all the cool additions that they put in the Sega Saturn port, you can play the original arcade on MAME, which is Multiple Arcade Machine Emulator, which is on PC. So this right here, I'm going to say is a 10. That's how much this game is awesome. So Barriga is an excellent pick. And you know what? And I would say this is a good game for beginners as well as veterans. I'm going to say that too. Most of these games are, with the exception of probably Diode Joe and Ibarra. I wouldn't recommend those for new players. But definitely Dodonpachi Resurrection is definitely a new STG player friendly game. Probably the best one so far. So, and now I got Dodon Pachi, which is the very first of the Dodonpachi series of the 5 games. So I have Dodon Pachi and Dodon Pachi for Saturn. These games are actually not going to run you a whole lot. They're going to be about the cost of a new PS3 game or something. Or, I don't know, PS4 game. I guess PS3, they're not making games for it anymore, maybe. I don't know. But you're looking at like $50 or $60. Anyway. So this is the first and second game of the series, and then Diode Joe being the third, Resurrection being the fourth, and then this other one is going to be the fifth. But these right here are excellent games for new players and veterans alike. The first loop is hard. The first loop on both games is hard, but doable for new players. And then the veterans can get some replay value out of it because the second loop is just very hard. And then also you have the true last boss, which is Hibachi, which is the Robotic Bee. But yeah, these right here, I put these up there too on my list. These are excellent games for Sega Saturn. And one downside would be that since these are ports, all these are ports of arcade games. All these games were made first to be put in arcade machines, in arcade cabinets, and quarters to be put into, and that's that. But they recognize which ones are good, I guess, and they port them over to whatever the relevant console is at the time. And being that these are early, when they first started doing ports like that, these are early CD-based ports, there's not a ton of options. You can get tape mode, which is where you rotate your TV on its side, so it's longer and it's more true to the arcade, but there's not a button configuration or anything like that. So it kind of is a downside in that regard, but there are only 2 button games. There's shoot, you tap to shoot, hold for laser, and another one is bomb. Pretty straightforward. It's not going to kill you not be able to change your 2 buttons, but I thought I would mention that. And lastly, we have over here, this is Dodonpachi Diode Joe, which was not only the 5th and last game in the Dodonpachi series, but is also Cave's last game, period, because they do not exist anymore. Cave, the development team for Cave, that company does not exist anymore. They have like something going on where I think they're trying to put games on Steam, but they are basically done for. They had 2 limited editions of this game. They have a limited edition and like an extra special limited edition, and basically it has the same stuff in it except for the extra special super duper limited edition is in a giant box as opposed to the small slide out one. But both of them feature like a soundtrack, an art book, and then the game itself. But this port right here has been optimized fully for 360. And so it's HD, it looks gorgeous, the music is amazing. There are multiple modes, arcade, novice. For new players, you can play novice, and it's a lot more forgiving. The arranged mode is awesome. You have a special ship on that. There's unlockable stuff and achievements. It's just, Cave really went all out when they did this. I got this new, I think it was $100 and like $10 shipping or something like that. Brand new. I'm not sure what they go for now, to be honest. If I had to guess, I would say probably $150 to $200 because this kind of stuff just goes up in price most of the time. But I would give this one a rating of 10 just because how much stuff is on it, how accessible it is to newer players, and how that you can also get a good challenge if you're a veteran player. One thing I will say about it is that a lot of, I don't know if these people are just jaded, but a lot of people have said that there's input delay on it. From your controller to the screen to what's happening, there's a minute delay that people say messes them up. But I've actually cleared this game on arcade. I have not cleared, I always end up making dumb mistakes before the last boss on arrange mode, but I have not cleared arrange mode. And you know, I never really noticed this crazy delay that anyone talked about, so I don't know. I'm still gonna give this one of my higher ratings. But yeah, once you've dipped a little bit into the STG jar and you decide that you really like it and this is something you want to play, I would definitely try to seek out one of these if I could, if I were you. But yeah, so that's 10 of my picks for STGs. I guess I could give like some honorable mentions. For Dreamcast, Ikaruga is an excellent STG. It has a really unique mechanic where your ship is either white or black, and one button flips your ship white and black, and all the enemies either shoot white or black bullets at you, and if you are the same color, you will absorb those bullets, and if you're the opposite color, then you get destroyed. But absorbing bullets will build up a laser bar that you can unleash a crazy spider laser thing, and it's really puzzly. It's a puzzly kind of shooter, and let's see. Another one would be I talked about Radiant Silvergun in the first part of this. That's a game made by Treasure. Also, Ikaruga was made by Treasure, and that's a Sega Saturn game, like I said, it's, you know, a really expensive Sega Saturn game, but you can find it on the 360, you know, virtual console or whatever you want to call it. Let's see here. Espagaluda, you're flying fairy people, and I know that sounds goofy, and at first, and if you first play it, it's going to look kind of goofy, but it has a really cool mechanic where you can slow down time, and so people will shoot tons and tons of bullets at you, but then you slow down time for a minute, and you can, like, you know, manage the bullet pattern, and if you destroy an enemy that shot a bunch of bullets at you, and you slow down their bullets, when you kill that enemy, all their bullets turn into point items. And so it's a really visually appealing kind of game. Let's see. I think I might take a look over there. Oh, a couple. These are all vertical STGs, but there are a number of horizontal STGs, and Aki Katana and Death Smiles are pretty good. And Death Smiles, you can actually fire ahead of you, and you can turn around and fire the other way. So in the later levels, they're coming from everywhere, but it never gets so much to where you're just like, you don't get too mad. I think that was probably the first cave game I ever won CC, because that's how easy that game is. Aki Katana, that's not a super hard game, but it's not as easy as Death Smiles, so I would recommend that one, and that one is really cheap. And I think they even added it recently to the 360 arcade, so you can pick that one up for like less than $20 one way or the other, I'm sure. There's a couple other games made by Rising. Rising is the one that made Battle Barriga. They also have Kingdom Grand Prix, which is also for Saturn, and it's a STG racing hybrid. And I know that sounds weird, but you have all your 2D sprites, and you're all racing through the level. You go towards the top of the screen to go faster, and you go to the bottom to go slower. And other than that, it's still an STG. Stuff still shooting at you. You still have to shoot at it. You have your bombs and stuff. But it's like the riskier you play, getting up to the top of the screen where enemies spawn, the faster you can get to the finish line, and you're trying to finish before the other players while playing the STG. Really unique. So I'll give it that. There's a lot of them. I guess I'll just end the video right there. But yeah, so that's STGs. I think it's kind of a niche genre, and a lot of people don't know about it, but maybe this video helped out a few people that were looking to get into it, or maybe inform some people that didn't know it was a thing. But yeah, it's a thing. So, but yeah, next video I think I'm going to do is either going to be a versus fighter video, or it's going to be an RPG video. If anyone wants to vote in the comments or something like that, then that'll be the next 2-part video I do. I'll go over what systems I recommend for RPGs, and then some RPG picks and why. And I think I have some over there that probably are not too well known, so that one might be fun. I'm leaning towards the RPG video now, but anyway, it's either going to be a versus or an RPG. If you want to like vote for it or anything, go for it. I'll be happy to hear it.